Hello there, and welcome to What's the Point? A question we should all be asking ourselves, and the podcast by brand architect Bill Ellis that will help you discover, clarify, and live your purpose.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to What's the Point? And I'm really excited today to have a conversation with a gentleman who's become a good friend, and he's one of those people that I never expected to meet in my life. When I started this podcast, I've said all along that I will have guests that you probably don't know, but you should. And today's guest is one of those for all of us. So please welcome my friend, Samer Fidy.
How's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Samer has a very interesting story. I've learned a lot from him. And let's start by saying that Samer is a finance manager for a motorsports company in the Tampa Bay area. But we met through what is commonly called today his side hustle. And this is something that he started with his now 14-year-old daughter, I'm sorry. And they are co-founders of this tremendous company called Palestinian Hustle. Tell me a little bit about that.
So at the time we started, it was 2018. It's been an idea for many years. I wanted to start a brand that had to, that was about the Palestinian hustle way of life, which is like hustling and family and dancing and culture and anything that wasn't political. So 2018, beginning stages, I told my daughter, Isabel, I was like, we're going to start a company. And my friend, Marcus, I went to college with him at the local university here. It's Florida Southern. He posted something on his Instagram page. He's a graphic designer. And I said, hey man, my daughter and I want to start this company, Palestinian Hustle. You just really inspired me. It's just a thought. And then within a week, he sent me the artwork. Then we kept on going back and forth, and he brought it to life. And the whole thing with Palestinian Hustle is it's a Palestinian brand for the world. You know, my daughter, as a young Palestinian, I don't want her to be just associated with politics just because she's a born Palestinian. I want people to see our culture for what it is, which is the beauty of our culture. And I also wanted to create a community for everyone, no matter their race, culture, or creed, to come together and live by spreading love, helping others, and always hustling. So that's how we started the brand.
Well, you just touched on something very, very vital, and that is the premise of the company, which is spread love, your first point, help others, your second point, and always hustle, your third point. What I love about this, Samer, is your focus on sharing, honoring, and recognizing your culture and your heritage apolitically. So there are many different interpretations and views of Palestine and Palestinians, thanks to the media and somewhat skewed stories at times. But what you said is very important, and that is something that is apolitical and all-inclusive, and pointing out all of the positivity of your culture. Mm-hmm. And that's fabulous. So your purpose, so what I've got here, your message we've already talked about, which you say your message is simple: spread love, help others, and always hustle. Talk to me about your purpose is pure.
So when I say our purpose is pure, it's coming from a place to where it's from our heart. So a little background. A lot of times, Bella and I, when we would go out on Saturdays or Sundays, or on the weekends, I have her, we would go buy pizzas, and we would take them to feed the homeless people around town. If we see somebody at the grocery store, an old lady at the grocery store, an old man, and they're unable to take their groceries into the trunk, mm-hmm. Bella and I would teach her, said, we have to stop and help. And then it came to a point to where she would be like, Daddy, let's go help them. Or Daddy, can we go? I don't want to go to Disney today. I want to go feed homeless people today.
Okay.
So when I say pure, it's just pure from the heart. It's extremely organic, if you will. It's just from a pure place.
Yeah, and by purity, I also believe part of what you mean is that it's just about promoting acceptance and understanding, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's like there's such a yeah, it's just promoting understanding, acceptance, unity.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of that lumped into one word, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to come back to the third element here, your motivation, because what I want to do is share with people a little bit of your journey, how you got to where you are right now as a finance manager at a motorsports company in Tampa. You were born in New York, right?
Yeah, Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, Bay Ridge area.
Okay.
Brooklyn. Yeah.
And then tell me more.
So I was born in Brooklyn, New York. And then at the age of 9, my dad took the family to Disney World and as a last vacation in the States and said, hey, we're moving to Palestine. So we sold the house, packed our bags, and we moved to Palestine in 1991. And we went to a school called Jerusalem School, which is still there. It started out as a small school goes from kindergarten to senior year, and now it's still kindergarten to senior year, but it's multiple buildings now. It's in a nice complex. And it was living there is probably the best thing that has ever happened to my brother and I. When you live in Palestine, which I think I'm going to preface this, that everybody should visit Palestine at some point in their life.
It's on my bucket list, that's for sure.
2 reasons. So you know what the truth is about the situation, and then to see the most beautiful land on planet Earth. Like, this is the most beautiful place on Earth. I just wanted to say that, throw it out there. But anyway, so living in Palestine, it was beautiful. I got to learn the true meaning of, family and culture. And it really made me appreciate what I had in New York. For instance, I think we lived there probably for a month. I put on I never forget, my red filas, my shorts, my clothes. I was clean cut. I had my hat on backwards. I'm like, I'm going to go to the Hara. The Hara is like the alleyway, like the neighborhood.
Okay.
My first day there, I'm going to play soccer. No one spoke English. They're looking at me like, who the heck is this guy? Like showing off. They didn't hate me. They were just maybe jealous of what I was wearing, right? I didn't know what the rule was. So we got to a fight and I got cut with a blade on my arm. So I went back the next day and these guys were like, who the heck is this kid? Anyway, those guys that I fought with at my first time in the Hara, at the neighborhood, playing in the mountains, playing soccer, became my best friends. And, so it just molds you that the life that we live here in the United States, it's really the benefits that we have here is a privilege. And when you move back home, you don't understand this privilege until you're there. And I've made some of my closest friends there. And then I stayed there till my senior year. The situation with the political situation was getting really bad. And at that age, as a Palestinian male at the age of 16, it's very difficult. You always have to have your ID on you. You always have to ask questions. You get stopped. It's very tedious and humiliating at times. So with the pressure of that and the pressure of teenage life, I moved out of there in 2000 and 1998. I'm getting old, man. So 1998, and I moved to California to live with my uncle. Did my senior year there to become a resident so I can go to college and save money. So.
Okay. And just for clarification, you had U.S. citizenship from being born in the state. So getting residency was literally just a requirement to be able to access university.
Yes, it was.
So let me go back quickly to the scenario of you on your first day in the hood, if you will, and the impact that had, because I think it's really important for the reason you pointed out that it really helped you appreciate that much more some of the gifts that we have living in the U.S. But it also pointed out to me the opportunity that we can see things and look at the differences. And you there in your red feelas and your backwards cap and your I'm cool from Brooklyn kind of a feel didn't sit well because it was an unknown.
Exactly.
And further complicated by a language barrier. Now, I don't know if you spoke Arabic at that time, but they certainly didn't speak English.
Yep.
So it's once we get to the point of seeking to understand and seeking to find the similarities and seeking to say, okay, this is what we have in common, things can get better.
It can. It got better to the point to where we hung out every single day. Yeah. Like they understood who I was, and I learned Arabic within a few months of being there. And once I learned Arabic, they learned a little bit of English. We were able to communicate, and it just resolved everything.
And that's a great lesson. Just if we could just have people listen to that but the rest of the show is going to have even more really cool stuff. So now you're in California, and the American dream came through. It was unicorns and rainbows and pots of gold, and it was just an easy road. Am I right?
No, it was so easy. You think I was like, I'm going to get a nice car. I'm going to have nice clothes. I'm going to get a job. And, rent at that time in 1999 is when I graduated high school. So me and my friend and my cousin, I won't say any names for the podcast, but we rented a 2-bedroom apartment. It was $1,475 at that time. And we had to put a pretty hefty safety, like a deposit.
Security deposit,
None of us had credit at the time. It wasn't bad, but we didn't have anything built up, right? I was still learning about credit. So my roommate moved out, and then my cousin moved out, and then I was alone. So I went to the office. I said, my 2 roommates moved out. Like, can you lower my rent and help me out? I just work at Starbucks as a barista. And so from there, they said you have to be out like immediately if you can't afford it. So that's where the American dream started. So I moved in with my girlfriend at the time's family. I lived there for a few weeks. Then I moved in to these people's home, and I slept at various places in their house. I slept in their storage room. And when their kid came, I slept in their garage on a cot. And then when he got his 19 whatever year Corvette, they put me out. I slept in the backyard in their shed. So literally, if I had to go to the bathroom, I would knock on their back door and say, "Can I use the bathroom?" They would say, "No, you can't. We're doing something," or "No, you can." So I slept in my car a lot. And from there, despite the struggles I went through and the health complications I had, I was always school on time, always maintained good grades. I was always helping people. I always showed up to work, picked up extra shifts. Mm-hmm. Because I also had a 1987 Toyota Camry with no radio. The only sound that thing made was the rotors going out, the engine popping, and the tires making a lot of noise and the cracking. So I wanted to save up money and get a radio. So because I used to always sing out loud. So I know I'm going on a tangent here. So am I off track or what?
No, it's fine. But I just want to clarify one thing for those of you that aren't that familiar with me and my style. I was being very facetious when I said that the golden path to success was,
I'm sure they got it,
for you to walk down. So there are more hardships for you. And what I love about this are the lessons that you've taken from those. So from being not only on time, but opening stores at 4:45 a.m. and being reliable, but also being persistent to the point of when your money was tight, maybe you'd go into a Costco and do take some of their samples to just sustain yourself.
I would, yeah. And the Costco was right next to my Las Positas College, the community college in Livermore. And I used to go quite frequently until they found out and told me that this is literally for testing for people who are shopping, not for people who buy food. So that they ruined, they caught on really quickly.
Yeah. Well, so there are a lot of things to take from your journey so far. And hopefully we painted the picture that it wasn't easy, and it's not easy for many, many people. And so that's the point I want to make here. At no point for any length of time anyway, in my understanding, did you play the victim?
No, I at the time, no, but later in my life, I did at certain points. It's kind of funny because sometimes when I think back on when I went through it, I think it's natural sometimes for me to play the victim a little bit to myself. But then I snap out of it really quickly. So like at the time it was happening, I was like always sick. I lost a lot of weight, but it never like broke me down until later in life when I explain it to people. Like when I explained it to Jamila the first time, I literally cried at dinner. So it's kind of weird. Like when you're living it, you just like are hustling and you're numb to what's happening. It's like, you know, it's like when you get injured, you don't feel it right away because your adrenaline is kicking in. But when it subsides, you feel the injury. It's kind of like that. I didn't feel the hurt of the struggles I went through at that time. I felt the hurt like 10 years later because I was able to accept it or understand it. You know what I mean? It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And so our listeners haven't had this opportunity, but I have the opportunity to be familiar with a talk that you gave probably a year and a half ago to a Muslim school. And part of what you talk about there is the choice between being a victim or being more positive and putting on the taking on the persona of accepting and learning.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that, please.
You know, it's like my brother and I, we literally came from nothing. And when you're in a situation like us, you're there. Like you have no money, you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're supporting each other. You may have, I mean, we used to go buy 25-cent sandwiches from Checkers and freeze it. We accepted our situation, and that acceptance of the situation has given us the drive to exceed in life. Because if we constantly played the victim, it'll kind of like, it'll keep you in that mire that you're in. Like you're constantly like in that mud that you'll never get out because you're kind of playing the victim. But at the end of the day, when you play the victim, the only person that you're hurting is yourself, right? You get sympathy from 1, 2, or 10 people, but what's that sympathy actually doing for you? It's not making you grow. So once you realize what you're going through, it's normal to be a little bit negative and to play the victim because that's like that's how we're built as humans. But only let that settle in for a few minutes, maybe a day, and then accept what's happening. And once you accept it, you'll be able to just sky's the limit, you know?
I think that's such a powerful lesson, Samer. Thank you for sharing it. And again, we're speaking today with Samer Fidy, who is the co-founder of Palestinian Hustle, which is his side hustle. But we're talking with him as much as anything because of his life experience and how much he has discovered his purpose and fuels it with passion. And by God, you are a persistent guy. And that's the essence of this podcast. So when things were going tough, and let me step back and also make this observation, please. The fact that you were born in New York, your family is all Palestinian, you moved back to Palestine, and then you came to the States again, isn't the reason for your hardships. I think the reason I want to talk about it is to recognize your culture and your history and heritage. But importantly, the type of things you went through happens every day in the States for people that have never been out of their city, much less the country. So some of the lessons that you have learned and some of the lessons that you're sharing are appropriate. And that's when I talk about, let's find the similarities. That's one of the things that I want to focus on. But during that time, when you and your brother were really going through whatever you had to, two things. First, you say that it helped you and he create great habits. Talk to me about those habits that are now a part of your life.
Man, where do I begin? And it's like some of the habits, and when I say habits, I'm talking about many things like love, working hard. It's like working has become like a habit. Open communication with each other and with other people. Just it's just hard to even. And we always, throughout all of it, we always maintained like we didn't eat healthy, but we exercised always, because that gave us, you know, the fight and the drive too. And we did everything together as simple as you possibly can when it came to budgeting and living and spending, and we worked together at a cafe too, which was funny. So those habits that we instilled was like still exercising, spending quality time together, open communication with friends. We did a lot of walking to save money on gas, and because the car, you know, it wasn't the best car in the world. That's about it, really.
Well, yeah, but you say that's about it, but it's essential to getting through life on life's terms, with us managing everything we are able to manage and accepting those things that we have no control over. And those are critical lessons, and those are essential lessons. So you've gone through a lot of very difficult times. Let me flip the script a little bit and ask you, what's the easiest thing you've gone through?
Oh, the easiest thing that I've gone through.
Or the easiest thing in life, however you want to interpret that.
Honestly, as nerve-wracking as having a child is, when the easiest thing is probably when Bella was born. It was probably the easiest feeling I had that I was born to be a dad.
Okay.
Father. Now it's not easy. It was easy back then. As soon as the teenager hit, you know, and it's hard for me to say something that's happened to me specifically, but loving people and helping people is probably the easiest thing that I do on a daily basis.
Okay.
But I think, but the easiest thing that's ever happened to me was probably knowing that I'm a father.
That's a pretty important thing. And I can tell you from my experience, wait until you're a grandfather.
Yeah.
That's even more special. Speaking of which, Bella's grandparents, your parents, are now in the greater Orlando area, right? So you have family connections and get to see each other. And in the midst of this pandemic, I think we're all moving towards getting vaccinated. I hope that's the case for you and all of your family. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents got vaccinated, and my brother and I haven't been vaccinated. We were skeptical about it, but we're leaning towards getting the Moderna vaccine.
Okay.
But, my parents moved here. It'll be 6 or 7 years. They lived in Palestine. I was away from them since I was 17, and they've been here for 6-7 years. So they're in Orlando most of the time, enjoying my brother's baby because they missed that baby time with Bella.
Nice. But they also have teenage time with Bella, which she's a lovely young lady. I have to say it was a privilege to be able to meet you. For the record, for the listeners, Samer and I met as briefly as you can meet someone, probably just a couple of months before the pandemic hit and everything shut down. I was traveling through Central Florida, and he was very gracious to drive to where I was. And we had, 15 minutes together, which was just great to be able to smile and to get to know each other. And at the time, hug it out, and meet Bella. Yeah. So that was a gift to be able to do that at that time. You talked about creating great habits, and you said, where do I start? And you start very simply, as I see it, with the premise of your company, which is on your shirt. So those of you that are listening, this is on the What's the Point YouTube channel, Palestinian Hustle. Spread love, help others, and always hustle. And that's what it sounds to me like your life consists of. You're focused on love, spreading love, looking for the positive, right?
Yeah, always.
Yeah. You've spent your life and helped teach your daughter and others to help others. I'll tell you a real quick funny story. You talked about helping people, you and Bella helping people that needed help putting their groceries in the car at the public supermarket. Earlier in the pandemic, a good friend of mine, she is a critical care nurse. She's just a beautiful person. She wanted to do something to help people. So she masked up and went to a local supermarket to help people put their groceries in the car, and they called the police on her because it was just so unusual to have someone roaming the parking lot. So different times, different perspective, right?
It's unbelievable. And I got the police called on me too, feeding homeless people in downtown Lakeland where I live. This lady, I will never forget this ever. We bought 20, it was me and my friend Alet. He owns Urban Appeal downtown. They're from Palestine too. We ordered probably 30 or 40 pies of pizza. And we were just going all over, feeding them. We went and spent some time at the women's shelter, which I used to, before the pandemic, I would go to the women's shelter every week, every Monday when I'm off. I would spend a couple hours with these amazing, beautiful ladies. But she came and she's like, why do you are enabling them? And she had a to-go box of food and like food stains on her shirt. And I'm like, I'm not enabling them. I'm spending time with them. And the guy that I was talking to specifically, he had a great job at Publix warehouse, but he didn't have the money to get an apartment. So I was like, I'm not enabling, I'm helping to get to know them. And she called the police on me, and it's a good thing I work for a motorcycle shop because police officers in town know me and love motorcycle shops. So like, Samer, what are you doing, man? You're helping people again with pizza. So, and then the cop grabbed a slice of pizza. He had a bite with us, was talking with us. It was funny.
So there again, I think that's a great lesson because, you talked about the difficulties in your home country of Palestine and some of the political ramifications. And you talked about, kind of being stopped randomly. That happens here all the time. And I'm not making a judgment on this, but it is part of life. And it's part of why I love so much your business premise of spread love. Because if we're able to open ourselves and spread love, much of that might start to diminish. And that would be a great thing.
And, the most important thing, it's like with what's happening here in the United States right now and around the world, it's spreading love, but it's breaking that barrier of truly understanding another person or the behavior of another person and accepting it. And once you understand someone and accept it, then there's not this like ignorance or animosity towards people. People are not willing to just take 5 minutes out of their day and accept why a person does what he does and then understand and then move on. And it's unbelievable. Like acceptance is also acceptance, understanding, and spreading and love is significant. But I think sometimes in certain places, hate, racism, and ignorance is just too powerful. So Palestinian Hustle is down to break that.
Well, hate is taught. None of us are born hating. So love is also taught. So I love the fact that you're helping to spread that message. Let's talk a little bit about Palestinian Hustle. It's an apparel company primarily, right? Co-founded by you and Bella.
Yep.
Very high quality merchandise. And what I love about it is that a percentage of all of your proceeds go to a variety of charitable concerns. Share with us that.
So we, a percentage goes to an era. So when I first started Palestinian Hustle, months before, I knew I wanted to be like one of the first brands, which I am one of the first like Middle Eastern brands that actually fed human beings. Because when I didn't have the money and I was homeless up in my car, like food is a very important thing. So a percentage goes to an era, and they're on the ground in Lebanon, refugee camps.
Tell us what an era is, please. Just
So an era is a nonprofit organization that helps the refugees, Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, and also helps Gaza, which is a town in Palestine that is occupied by land, water, and sea. It's a very unfortunate situation. It's probably if we talk about Gaza, it's a 5-hour podcast, so I don't want to put you guys to sleep right now. But anyway, so ANERA helps the refugees in those areas. And then I also donate a percentage to Middle Eastern Children's Alliance, but specifically donate to their water. The water in Gaza is very bad because of the constant bombings and whatever. So they build water infrastructures all throughout Gaza for clean water. And then we also donate to a company in the United States, which each shirt makes 10 meals for a child in need in the US.
Outstanding. So everything you do is helping, and in particular, spreading love and helping children, which is...
and that's not including our humanitarian work that we do on a daily basis locally with the women's shelters and homeless people and stuff like that.
Well, that's pretty powerful. So to learn more about ANERA and to donate, for the listeners to donate, if you are so moved, the link to ANERA to donate will be in the show notes. But again, understand that it's very simply an organization helping the less fortunate, helping the hungry, and helping children to have a better life as best they can. And so the whole refugee topic, yes, refugees it's a sensitive topic here. It's a sensitive topic in countries around the world because refugees can be have an impact on the country they're trying to move to. What I try to focus on is not the problem of the refugee at a border, but what the conditions are causing them to be refugees in the first place and what they're fleeing. So when listeners, when you hear me say this, just keep in mind the spread love, help others, and always hustle motto. And this is literally to help people that need the help. It's being humanitarian at our very soul. So that's my little plug there. Sorry for me going off on a tangent, but I'm a little passionate about that. You have created quite a community of Palestinian-Americans, Palestinians across the world, starting to really recognize, embrace each other, help each other, and bring some of that culture and some of those amazing products and artwork, like right behind your head there, I think is Palestinian art there, that picture, yeah?
Beautiful piece.
Yeah, so your initiative has also helped to spread more truth and understanding of what the Palestinian way of life is and what Palestinian hustle is. How's that come about?
So it's funny, when we first started the company, I asked Bella a few questions. I asked her, like, what are your favorite brands? And she would, like, American Eagle and some makeup companies. Like, do you know who the owners are? And do you know what they do? Or have you ever spoken to them? And she said no. So I wanted to launch my company and not sell for a year because I wanted people to know who we are. I think it's very important for people to know who you are personally, and your ethics and your character before you start giving money to buy shirts, But then I had to get the website because one of the influencers, who's now like a brother and a best friend, is Abdul Karim, known as Al Salwadi. He's like, hey man, I have a championship fight for Brave in the Middle East. You need a website because I'm gonna bring you sales and we can help a lot of people. So
he's an MMA fighter, is he not?
Yeah. He's awesome. We talk daily. And so I was like, so I called my friend in Lakeland. I'm like, dude, I need a website. He's like, do you have any pictures of your shirts? I was like, no. So I literally ironed the shirts. I took pictures. That's why I have my website. I'm keeping it raw like this because it's very humbling for me. The lighting on my shirts are not good on the website. We're gonna get more advanced soon, but it's all part of this story, right? And we got the website. He won the championship. It was very exciting. And a lot of my page is the 14,238 followers that we have.
But who's counting?
Yeah, they're literally like my family. I've had people vacation in Thailand that send me pictures saying I was in Thailand wearing a shirt and I bumped into somebody on the beach wearing the shirt. In Singapore, it happened as well. I get videos every day from people dropping off their kids to school and saying, how are you going to do at school today? And they're like, we're going to do spread love, help others, and always hustle. And I've been able to give a voice to Palestinians. Some fathers can spend more quality time with their daughters and connecting families and being more open about being weak. Like in our culture, showing weakness is not like an open thing, with some cancer patients. So we really, it's a pretty beautiful thing that I wanted to build a community of people from all over the world where if it's like a domino effect, if each one of us is spreading love, helping others, and always hustling and doing well in our community. And I'm hoping that it just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading, maybe spreading to some governments and, some big people to live that way. And I think that it'll be a great thing. And to me, I'm always trying to teach Bella, it's quality over quantity. And I'm just blessed with Palestinian Hustle. It's really saved me throughout my process of getting sick too. So it's a blessing. I've met my beautiful Jamila through there. It's without Palestinian Hustle, I would it would have been a very dark time for me, honestly.
Well, when you say, and first of all, thank you for sharing your emotion. It's in so many cultures, not just the Palestinian and Middle Eastern culture, but in the U.S. culture. To show weakness by many is considered, to show emotion is considered a weakness. And that's so wrong, because it's quite the contrary. For us to be able to show and share and feel our emotions makes us stronger humans, in my opinion. But when you say when you were sick, I believe you have or had cancer.
Yeah. So as we were starting the company, everything was rolling. It took me forever to get the copyright and the patents, because they were like, it took me forever. My attorney was actually getting aggravated because they were trying to fish for questions like, who makes your shirts back home? Who do you send money to? I'm like, there's nothing to do with Palestine. It's a Palestinian brand in the United States. So we finally got everything protected. We got the Instagram page up, first photo shoot, and then everything was rolling. The website was going to happen, Silwadi's fight. And then December, we spent a New Year's Eve together. I'll tell you the story. So I felt something in my body that was a little abnormal. I felt it for a year, and it kept on progressively getting worse, and it got sensitive. So I went to the doctor in December. In November, I did an ultrasound, CAT scan, blood work, and they were going to call me with the results. I was literally on the airplane, driving to the airport to get on an airplane to go spend New Year's Eve. My brother and I were going to celebrate big. And the nurse called, said, the doctor needs to see you immediately. I was like, I'm literally parking at the airport and I can't come immediately. Can he call me over the phone and tell me? And she's like, you can't. So anyway, long story short, went to New York, didn't party at all because I knew something was happening. I landed that morning, went to the doctor. He said, you have cancer. We have to remove it right away. And I cried for like 3 minutes. And then I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And then I was like, let's do it. We'll set up the surgery. He's like, well, we need to go through insurance. I was like, screw that. I'll call my insurance company, set a date. Let's get this done. And that slowed us down. But during chemo and during that time period, again, it's natural as a human to play the victim, right?
Yeah.
So I played the victim with myself, but then I also flipped it and I kind of recycled that negative, victim mentality into positivity for Palestinian Hustle. So I was able to be real with my followers, be real with myself and people in my community, And at the time, going through chemo and stuff was hard, but now it was a blessing that I got cancer, because without getting cancer, I wouldn't have been able to connect with a lot of people. Without cancer, I wouldn't be able to see life in 3D.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't, just like love my family as much as I love them, So, always looking back at hard times, you always appreciate it later in life,
Yeah, and another one of your lines from your talk, and I'm going to paraphrase this, so don't hold me to it for not being word for word, but basically what you said is the path to dreams isn't always clear and it's not always as expected. But I think your point there was don't give up on your dream.
Yeah, don't give up on your dream. If you can't, if it's not the way you wanted, it'll get there, or be a variation of it, or it'll be better. Just never stop hustling, and don't ever lose yourself in the process.
That's great. So I've got three more things for you. Thank you so much for your time so far, Samer. I appreciate that. But three things. I said I was going to come back to the third point, the third pillar, if you will, of the Palestinian Hustle company, and that's your motivation is inspired. Let us hear a little bit more about what you mean by your motivation is inspired.
So my motivation's inspired by the things that I've lived, the things that I've seen, and the things that I want for the Palestinian people. And that's what motivates me, because without the inspiration of my people, my country, the struggles of my people and country, without the inspiration of life itself, and the struggles that I have been to, there would be no motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So the motivation that I have is truly inspired by all of that. And it's inspired by knowing that I can do better in this world. And that's where the motivation comes from.
Good. And that is to go further in that. You also talk about realizing how small acts of kindness can start to accumulate and build into something bigger and hopefully have a global impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, people think, like I always preach on the page, it's not about helping others, is not necessarily something that's like monetary. It's not money. It can be walking down the street and saying hello, or it can be like sensing that someone's hurting at work and saying, hey, can I get you a coffee? Are you okay? Do you want to talk? It can be something as simple as that all the way up, right? Like, and it's any act of kindness on any scale. The impact is humongous. Like, it's just anything. So that's why I always tell people it's pretty amazing how so many people have a hard time with doing a simple act of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
If they just wake up and say, I'm going to do one act of kindness today. And the act of kindness they do to that person, and that person that received that kindness, and be like, man, that felt good. And they're going to do it to someone else. It's a domino effect of love and kindness. And that's what my brand's about, is teaching people that it's okay to sit down with the homeless person. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to help others. It's okay to say hello, good morning, good afternoon to some people. If some people don't want to receive it, they don't want to receive it. But like I was taught by my family and my culture, it's about the action. It's always about the action. You always have to try. And that's what it's about. It's the simple act of kindness that can just simply change the world.
And again, I'm going to flip the script and just give the other perspective on that, because not only are you helping others, I believe that part of the real benefit of that is that others can learn that it's okay to receive.
Yeah.
Okay to receive. And that's the fifth law. Everyone that has listened to me at all knows my love for the go-giver and the philosophy of the go-giver. And the fifth law is the law of receptivity, the being open to receiving. So I think that's a good lesson you're giving as well. So I'm kind of running up against the amount of time that you committed, and I appreciate that. So I've got two more things for you. One of the real popular questions these days is, what would you tell your younger self? Well, we all know that we can't do that. So I'm just going to make it a little bit more realistic. What message would you give young people that are currently in the position you were in? What kind of advice would you give the youth of today?
That's an interesting question. Number one, always never hide your struggles from your family, because my family didn't know about my struggles till later on in life. Number two, no matter how hard life gets, you can always change something the next day. You can always work harder the next day. You can always find something positive the next day. Try not to play the victim or be negative for a long period of time, because if you do that and you make a habit of that, you'll never change in life. You'll just be the negative person that plays the victim with everything. Smile, try to smile as much as you can. And try to really connect with yourself, because that period of time will mold you into the person that you're going to be. So always think that the struggles that you're going through today are going to mold you into being a better person. So look forward to your future self, but you have to go through that period of time, and you have to accept it and understand it, but know that it's going to all make sense in the future. So just go through it, smile, make the best of it, and I promise you, it'll get better.
That's powerful. Thank you. Final.
Bring it on.
You've talked about being born in Brooklyn, moving to Palestinian, having to fit in where you didn't fit in, and then realizing that you fit in all along because it's your heritage and your family, and the struggle of eating in Costco free samples and working at 4:30 in the morning and everything else you've gone through, and the cancer and everything else you've gone through. All of that, what do you think is your fundamental mission in life? And I'll put it in the context of this show, real simply. What's the point?
What's the point? The point, it's very interesting. What's the point? The point is, in order for us to make this world the way we want it, or to make our lives the way we want it, or to make our communities the way we want it, or to make Palestine the way we want it, we have to fundamentally be strict with the way we live and the habits that we create, and the missions that we tell ourselves have to be executed daily. So the point is that I do what we do personally and through Palestinian Hustle is just to make this world a better place, or our community a better place. And hopefully that everybody will wake up in the morning and say, today I'm going to spread love, help others, and always hustle, and make their lives better. And then the people that they touch will live by that motto, and that everybody will make this world a Palestinian Hustle world. And that's the point.
And there you have it, everybody. Palestinian Hustle is the point. And the point, to sum it up again, very succinctly, is spread love, help others, and always hustle. You can find out more about Samer and certainly Palestinian Hustle at Palestinianhustle.com. All his information and his Instagram and other social media contact is in the show notes. But go to Palestinianhustle.com, look at the merchandise, and understand that the message that the merchandise delivers is one that we can and should all embrace and spread. And you're going to do that. And by doing that, you're going to help someone who really needs help. So it's good stuff. It's a great logo. It's an even better message, and it helps people that need help. Samer Fidy, thank you so much for your time today. You're an amazing human being. I'm very blessed and grateful to have met you and to learn more about you.
I appreciate you so much, and thanks for having us on the show. We really appreciate it. We got to do it before you leave. Spread love.
Help others.
And always hustle.
Always hustle.
Peace. Take care, man.
Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We can promise you'll gain value in every one. Rating and reviewing makes us more discoverable and helps others find out what's the point. And if you'd like to know more about Bill Ellis or contact him, please visit his website, www.brandingpillars.com. See you next time.